Welcome everybody, welcome to White City Place Connect, where we're offering occupiers of White City Place a live platform from which to learn and engage from the comfort and safety of your own home. Wednesday lunchtime yoga, you're all very welcome. My name's Dora, a little bit different today because we're back in the studios. It's going to be a hybrid of live streaming and bodies in the room. So you might just notice that the setup is a little bit different. Okay, so we're going to begin on our backs. Just want to come and lie down when you're ready. Find yourself in any version of effortless resting pose that suits you right now in this moment. So the knees will be bent, feet are flat on the floor. And have your feet hip distance apart. You could wiggle them to the outer edges of your mat. You might even want to drop the knees in to touch one another. Lift your heart and slide the shoulder blades down the back. Turn your palms towards the ceiling. So just notice what effect that has on your shoulder joints as they roll around and down. Arms are slightly away from the rib cage, so the body is free to breathe. Lengthening to the back of the neck, base of the skull, travel your awareness over the crown of the head, and the face is softening downwards from the hairline to the chin. If you're comfortable to do so, lightly close your eyes. If that's not comfortable for you for any reason, just take a soft gaze. Rock into the texture of now. Awareness of the cool mint of the inhale, the warm vanilla of the exhale. The inhale and the exhale are very different qualities to them, very different flavors. There's a Sanskrit word for this. Rasa, flavor. Perhaps notice which part of the breath you feel you need a little bit more of, or less of, or more balance between the two. The cool mint of the inhale, the warm vanilla of the exhale. Any part of your body that you can dissolve just that little bit more. Keeping a gentle awareness of your breath. In your next exhalation, allow your mind and your breath to follow down to the pit of the belly. Breathe like a wave. As you inhale, the belly expands, the lungs fill. Exhale, long and smooth. It's all in and out through the nose. Inhale, belly rises, lungs fill. Exhale, long and smooth. Like a ripple effect. Inhale, belly, chest. Exhale, long and smooth. Keep going with this, creating a circle of breath, very little pause between the inhale and the exhale. Like a recycling or a washing through of energy. Inhale, belly, chest, exhale. Almost the inhale is in two parts. Exhale, so just bringing a little bit of energy into the body. The inhalation is more energizing, the exhalation helps us to let go. Powerful breath, no stress, no strain, nice and easy. Wonderful. And let this go, let the breath find its own natural rhythm. Check in again, notice the texture of now. texture of this moment. Bring your awareness now to your feet. So notice the structure of your feet and the supple connecting points between the skin and the floor. And wiggle your feet to a place where they're an ample hip distance apart and where you're aware of the toes being in line. So very simply, we're going to pick the toes and balls of the feet off the floor and come onto the heels. So just lift the feet, the heels stay down, and then place the feet like a wave again, ball of the foot and toes to the floor. And just do that 2 more times as you notice which muscles are switching on to put onto the heels. Very, very simple. Which muscles switch off, how do your ankles and feet feel? We'll go in the opposite way, so you're going to lift your heel and come onto the balls of your feet. And then place the heels down 2 more times. Just being present to the sensation, maybe up with the shin, the ankle, the calf muscles. 1 more time, lift the heels and the balls of the feet. And then releasing back. Just get into the structure of the foot, the sharp edge of the outer edge, the stability of the heel, the pads of the toes, and all the way across the ball of the foot, from the big toe joint to the heel toe joint. So the structure of the foot is very important. It creates the tonality to the body moving upwards, the tonality to the internal body, to the organs. Keeping the knees still, so without moving the knees, can you roll onto the outer edge of your right foot? Keep the knee where it is. Roll onto the outer edge without letting the knee drop out. Wonderful. And then place the inner edge of the foot back to the floor and see if you can lift the outer edge of the foot without allowing the knee to move too much. Do that a couple more times. The knee stays still, roll onto the outer edge of the right foot, and then place the foot back down and roll to the inner edge of the right foot. So you're strengthening and stretching the ligaments, keep going with this, in the ankle joint. So if you've ever gone over on your ankle, which most of us have, possibly a few times in our life, we tend to overstretch the ligaments. So we're just strengthening and loosening at the same time. Wonderful. And then have a little go on the left foot. Left knee stays still, roll to the outer edge of the foot, place the inner foot down, roll to the inner foot. While the outer foot comes up. So you might not get as much movement as you would like to, keeping the knee still. Can you be content with less? Can we be content with less? Wonderful. When you've had a little play there, then come back into the center, both feet, awareness of both feet on the earth, and wiggle your feet to the outer edges of the mat. So you can feel the outer edges of your feet running along the outer edges. Feet are still parallel. So outer edge of the heel and little toe joint coming along. Beautiful. Without moving your left leg, you let your right thigh and knee roll in towards your midline. So you come onto the inner edge of your foot. That's it. So you can let the outer edge of the foot come up if you want to. Take it back into the center and take the knee out to the side, rolling onto the outer edge of the foot. Keeping the pelvis as still as you can with the left leg still. And keep going with this. So we're just exploring the range of movement available to you here in the ball and socket joint of the hip. And so we're going a little bit slowly to begin with. We'll get moving a little bit faster. Just so that you can really check in, really tune into what is available to you. Perhaps not what you would wish, but what is here right now. Back to the center and keep the right thigh and knee still. Work with the left leg. So left knee and thigh drops in. You might roll to the inner edge of the foot. Take it up and take it out. Notice if this leg feels different to the other leg. Notice how this feels. And you stay relatively stable to the pelvis and the right leg as you do this. heel to the feet until they hip distance apart once again. Lovely. Draw your right knee towards your chest. Keep the tailbone down. So there's a heaviness to your tailbone. And take the right hand, just the right hand, onto the front of the right thigh, just underneath the knee. So it's on the flat front of your thigh there, rather than around the top of the knee. So just have a little look there, girls who are in the studio. Right hand onto the front of the thigh if you can. That's it. A bit higher, so just underneath the knee. So I want you to create a little bit of tension here. Press your thigh to your hand and your hand to your thigh. Keep the head down where you can see. And start to take some tiny little circles here. We're creating a good tension here. Thigh presses to hand, hand presses to thigh. Tiny little circles with the knee. So we're strengthening before we begin to lengthen and stretch. Keep that tension on. Tension isn't always bad. We need a bit of tension. And then in the opposite way, pressing thigh to hand, hand to thigh. So you might feel a little bit of heat starting to rise in the top of the thigh, in the hip joint. Keep that tension, beautiful. Okay, keep the knee where it is and release the arm down to the floor. Circling the knee without that tension. You might want to make the circle a little bit bigger. Notice how this feels. If the femur head is sliding and gliding nicely in the socket, or it feels a little bit clunky and crunchy, there's no judgment here. You might even begin to straighten the right leg as it reaches forward. Just take this to your own comfortable edge. Your body is completely unique. Lovely. And then in the opposite way, circling the knee in opposition, maybe the leg starts to extend. Core is switchable a little bit here. So we're not only using the hip flexor, although probably starting to feel that. Crossing your right ankle onto the top of your left thigh. Flex that foot strongly. That will help to protect your knee. Beautiful. Without using your hands, could you pick your left foot off the floor and let your heel just come towards the sit bone? No hands. The foot is off the floor if you can. That's it. That's it. So we're trying to resist the temptation to grab a hold of the thigh and pull the leg in. Again, create some tension between the thigh bone and the ankle joint. So you can feel which muscles are switching on before you kind of hold on there. And actually, we're probably not going to hold on to the leg today, just for now. The right knee pressing forward, relax the shoulders, jaw, mouth, and face. Keep the chin slightly down towards the throat. How is your breath? And release the left foot to the floor, release the right foot to the floor. Wonderful. And from the left knee towards you. That's it. Take the left hand to the front of the thigh, just underneath the knee. Create that tension. So as you press the thigh bone towards the hand and the hand towards the thigh, can you also perhaps feel the tailbone drop into the earth? Start to circle that knee. Tiny little circles with that tension switched on. So it's also really lovely for your sacrum and your lower back. Less is more. Circling the femur head in the socket. Stay present to the sensation of this. And keeping that tension switched on, reverse. Feel the heat starting to accrue in the top of the thigh and the hip flexors. Wonderful. And come to the center, release the hand to the floor. Now circle that knee without the hand. Maybe it feels a little bit freer, sliding, gliding. There's a little bit of crunchiness or heart rate feels stuck. Just acknowledge that. Maybe even the leg starts to straighten as it moves forward. knot. And then in the other way, all the time keeping your right foot fully grounded, switching on your core, so you're not rolling and rocking around in the pelvis too much. Wonderful. Take the left ankle onto the top of the right thigh, flexing the foot. Press that left knee forward. Pick your right foot off the floor, just let the heel drop towards the sit bones. The right foot is relaxed and the left foot is flexed. So when the foot is flexed, we switch on the muscles either side of the shin to protect the knee joint. Lovely. Create that tension again, thigh bone to ankle, ankle to thigh bone. Check in with your breath once again. Placing your right foot to the floor, place the left foot to the floor. And just take a moment to pause, notice. Once again, we're going to pick the toes and balls of the feet off the floor, so you're balancing on your heels. And walk your heels further forward towards the front of the mat. Still going to be a bend of the knees. Turn your palms down on the earth. So you'll strengthen the backs of the legs a little bit before we start to lengthen them. Pressing into the heels. Lift your entire spine off the floor in one piece. This is the exhale, so you're coming up into a bridge. Inhale, release down. And you can adjust the distance of your heels to your sit bones if that's not comfortable. Press down to the heels, lift your entire spine off. On the exhale, release down on the inhale. Keep going. Exhaling. And you might feel as if there's a little bit of cramp in the backs of the hamstrings. They're just working. Maybe you can feel the glutes switching on as you continue to do this. Maybe a little bit of tension in the fronts of the ankles. All good. Exhale, press down, lift. Inhale, release. We're just going to do 4 more. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. One last time. Exhale. Inhaling. Fantastic. Release the toes to the floor. Draw your knees towards your chest. Keep them hip distance apart. Feet come off the floor. Hands come over the fronts of the knees. Well listened. Take a little rock across the sacrum and turn your head to the opposite side of your knees. A little massage to the lower back. So knees drop to one side, head goes to the other. Not all the way, just a little rock. Ready. Take your hands behind the backs of the knees. Tuck your chin in, sweeping the belly, and see what it might feel like to roll up and back a few times. We've got a little bit of padding underneath our spines. If it doesn't feel okay, you will just rock up once. Keeping the spine a little bit. Beautiful. Lifting all the way up. That's it. Take this space. Take the hands to the floor. Move your sit bones back a little bit. So you want a forward rotation of the pelvis. So rather than sitting onto the tailbone, we're trying to move towards the front of the sit bones. Lift the toes up once again. Keep the knees equal distance apart. Take the left hand to the outside and the right hand behind you into the twist. That's lovely. Press the leg out towards the hand. Now for this to be a twist, we want 2 parts of our body to be moving in opposition. So the heart space in the center of the chest is moving around towards the right, but the navel is moving around towards the left side of the waist. So your internal body is moving in 2 directions. Otherwise it's a rotation. Let yourself flow out of this and we'll go to the other side. Heart moves around towards the left. Navel pulls around towards the right side of the waist. So you imagine bringing out the dishcloth, you're turning your hands in opposition, aren't you? So your organs are getting this lovely squeeze. And we will let this go. Fantastic. Curl your shins around. We'll come onto our hands and knees. So just one more to feel into the backs and sides of your legs. Your wrists are underneath your shoulders, your knees are hip distance apart. Press the tops of the feet to the floor. Stretch out your right leg so you're coming onto the metatarsals. The toes are not tucking there. Imagine you have all 5 toenails on the floor. Beautiful. Now that leg becomes so long, you're laying through the inner seam of the leg that it has no choice but to float up. So it just comes to hip level. Pointing the toes. Beautiful. Bring a bit more tone to the front of the body. Push the earth away with your hands to lift the chest. Take this leg across your body and tap the toes outside of your mat. Fantastic. Lift over like a little rainbow and tap into the other side of the mat. We're trying to get all 5 toenails down, so you keep that rotation. Beautiful. Lift it up and over. Tap the toes. Up and over. Just keep going with this. Again, stable through the left leg. Feel which muscles are switching on here. You might even notice how the weight starts to compensate a little bit, moving slightly over to one hand and then the other. Going a few more times. Little rainbow arm. Great. And bring the toes in line with the sit bone. Slide that right shin to the floor so the knees and inner ankle bones are touching. Push into the hands, lift and round your spine into your cat. Arching your back towards the sky. And with a rounded spine, start to sit down towards your heels. So keep rounding, rounding, rounding. As you sit back onto your heels, perfect. And lengthen your belly over your thighs as you stretch your arms forwards. As a child's pose with the legs together. Maybe the forehead comes to the floor. Maybe it's lifted. If the forehead is down, you could roll from temple to temple. Just massaging the frontal lobe of the brain. Releasing any pressure in the sinuses. Fantastic. Coming up into hands and knees. Leaving the hands where they are. So we want to keep them stretched out. Could we lift the knees to keep the inner ankle bones glued together? So get this a little stretch of the feet. Perfect. Take the knees wide, place them down to the outer edges of your mat. Take the toes and tuck them behind the knees. That's it. So your shins are going to be parallel with the outer edges of the mat. We're going to come into a down dog, but nice and wide. First down dog. Feet are wide, hands are wide. Beautiful. Outer edges of the feet in line with the outer edges of the mat. So just your little pinky fingers and toes running along the outside. Keep the knees bent, the elbows bent. To this point. And take a sway from side to side here with the hips. So you've got a diagonal stretch from one shoulder blade to the opposite side of the hip, from one ball of the foot to the opposite hand. Great. Either both legs are straight or both knees are bent or somewhere in between. But without bending one knee and then the other. Beautiful. Lower your knees back to the floor, hip distance. Take the toes behind the knees, press the tops of the feet down, and walk your hands underneath your shoulders once again. This is square pose. Slide at the top of your left foot. All 5 toenails. Push the earth away. There's softness in the elbows. Wonderful. That leg becomes so long, so you lengthen through the inner seam of the leg that it just floats up behind you, just to hip level. Take the leg across your body, tap the toes outside of the mat, and then take it over and over. And keep going like a little arc. Right thigh, right hip stays relatively still. Great. Notice how the way they shift slightly. Hand to hand. You keep your right thigh, right shin as still as possible. Trying to tap the top of the foot, the metatarsal, so you keep an internal rotation as it taps the side to side. Nearly there. Great, bring the toes back in line with the sit bone. Slide the shin to the floor. Bring the shins together, lift around your spine, arching into the cat. Start to come and sit down onto the heels, still rounding. And then as you sit down onto the heels, this time I'm going to curl up to sit on the heels. Just make a soft fist with your hands and just rotate the wrists a few times. Each way. Sliding over your thighs. Take the hands a little bit wider, so pinkies on the outer edges of your mat. Come up onto hands and knees. So perhaps a down dog with the feet together, tucking your toes, floating your hips up and back, spreading out through the metatarsals, spreading the toes, hugging the inner ankle bones in towards one another. So there's a little bit of space between each toe. Of course, you can bend the knees if you need to. Softening the heels towards the floor, softening the elbows. And then so we've done all 3 variations, step your feet hip distance apart. Lovely. Back to your breath, breathing in, and breathing out, a continual cycle of breath. Soften your knees and walk your hands back towards your feet. So you can stand in the back of your mat with your feet distance apart. Let your body fold over here. Bend your knees as much as you need to so you can have at least the fingertips on the floor. Maybe you're even flipping the hands up here. So the palms are facing up and the longest fingers are touching one another. Again, like a circle through your arms. So you can take your hands this way. That's it. Abdominal organs are hugging back towards the spine, so you get more space and length for your spine. And see if you can really let the head go here. Relax around the back of the brainstem. Bend the knees as if you were to sit down on a little stool. Take your elbows onto your thighs and your palms into prayer. Supported Utkatasana. And press your thigh bones back with your elbows, back and sides of the neck along. Engage your core by wrapping and zipping and bring your thumbs underneath your heart space. That's it. So you can take the elbows off the thighs, you're a little bit higher. It's about 60% of the weight in your heels here. Feet hip distance apart. Press down through your legs. Come all the way up to standing. Wonderful. Release your arms down by your side. We're going to walk forward, facing the right heel to the floor. Little toe to the foot. Little toe joint, big toe joint. Push away from the back wall of the foot. Left heel, outer edge of the foot, little toe joint, big toe joint. So this is the natural way that we would walk. Right heel. Little toe joint, big toe joint. With that, press away from the ball of your back foot and then bring your left knee to right knee and squeeze the heel towards the glutes. You might feel like this is cramping. This is your hamstring muscle working. Squeeze it in. Wonderful. Belly lifts. Look along the horizon, broaden across the collarbones. And then we're going to take that left leg up in front of us, flex the foot. So the thigh is perpendicular to the floor. Take the left hand onto the sacrum, the right hand to the outside of your thigh, and press the thigh into the hand to create the twist. So the leg is creating the twist, rather than the spinal bones. Come back through to the center. Place the ball of the left foot to the floor. Raise your arms by your ears and bend both knees. And imagine that you're hanging off a rope. So your pelvis is heavy, but the waist starts to feel really, really long. Wonderful. Float forward. Take the fingertips to the floor. Step back with your left toes into your lunge. Lower your back knee down onto the floor. Push into your right foot coming up. Arms out to the sides. Turn your armpits, inner elbows, palms towards the ceiling. Float your arms up by your ears and up the shoulders. And maybe you're going to take your hips forward a little bit more. Spread the fingers, press the thumbs back, lift the heart. Cover your breath, making sure that front heel stays on the floor. Place the palms of the hands to the earth. Lift your back knee. Slide your front foot back into a high plank. So distribute the weight between your forepaws. Kick the heels back. Inner eyes and your elbows turn to face one another. Lovely. Lower your knees. Untuck your toes so the feet are flat. Back is flat as you bring the shoulders forward, slightly forward at the wrists. Pull your elbows in and drop down. Maybe you can hover your chest. Hover it there. Slide the legs and belly away from you to come all the way down. Good. If you need to take the hands back a little bit more, do. Super glute into the floor. Start to roll the shoulders. Some big juicy shoulder rolls. It might mean taking the forehead off the floor. As if they're going to brush the earth, come up by the ears and down the back, creating a little bit of heat here again. And next time the shoulder blades come down the back, pull the hands back, lengthen your heart forward into space. Baby cobra. Push into the hands, come back onto hands and knees. Tuck your toes and lean with your tailbone as you flow back into your down dog. Breathing in and breathing out. Serve the breath that floods the pose. Soften your knees, walk your hands back towards your feet. Let yourself hang over your legs. Uttanasana, let your head go. And the same way as if you were to sit on a little stool, place your elbows onto your thighs, palms into prayer. Use your elbows to send the thigh bones back. Beautiful. Wrap and zip up to your core, lift your thumbs to your breastbones, so come a little bit higher. Extend to the legs, coming all the way up. Release your arms down by your sides. Look along the horizon, soften the knees. Start with your left heel, out edge of the foot, little toe joint, big toe joint. So there's a spiral in the leg as it moves through onto the foot. Left heel, little toe, big toe joint. Push away from the ball of your right foot and then bring knee to knee. Squeeze the knees together. Bring the heel towards the sit bone. So it might feel like the hamstring is cramping. It's just working. The breaths. Squeeze, 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 and then float the leg up in front of you. Without allowing the tailbone to tuck under here. Flex the foot, so it's like it's standing on a little stool there. Thigh bone is parallel to the earth. Right hand into the sacrum, so you can feel the support that your sacrum gives you. Left hand to the outside of the thigh. You're going to press the thigh outwards to create a twist. And again, the heart is moving towards the right, the navel around towards the left. Take it back, bring the ball of the foot to the floor. Floating the arms up. Bend the knees. Pelvis is hanging off the waist. Float the fingertips to the floor and step back with your right toes. Then you lower your back knee to the earth. Push into the front foot, float your arms out to the sides, turn your armpits, inner elbows, palms towards the ceiling. Let the arms up by the ears, taking the hips forward. Spread the fingers, press the thumbs back, lifting the heart. Just release any gripping in those front toes. Taking the hands to the floor, lift your back knee, slide that left foot back into your high plank, and take the weight through the spine so it's not so front lifted. That's it. Push the earth away, push it down so there's a little bit of buoyancy to the hips. Lower your knees, untuck your toes. Take your shoulders forward at the wrists, keeping the back flat. Pull the elbows in so they hug the ribs and just hover the chest off the floor. And let the legs slide away from you. Watch the feet press down. You might need to take the hands back another inch. Roll the shoulders up by the ears, down and back, lift the chest. Slide the lower ribs forward on the earth, baby cobra. Push into the hands. Tuck the toes and float yourself up and back into your down and facing dog. Sinking the elbows. Holding it here for a few breaths. Wonderful. Let's walk the feet forward towards the backs of the wrists. So hand over the legs for a moment. And this time we're going to come up with a flat back, leading with the heart. Turn the palms forward. Big inhale as you come all the way up to standing. And as you exhale, palms into the prayer. Draw your thumbs down towards your thigh. Amazing. So I think for the girls in the studio, it might be useful for you to turn your mat the same way as me. Okay, brilliant. And we're just going to mirror each other. So if you want to stand over to this edge of your mat, palms together into prayer. Fantastic. Feet are hip distance apart. Reach your prayer towards the sky. And as you exhale, thumbs to the heart, let yourself hinge forward. Take the fingertips to the earth. Well done. Step backwards with your left toes. Fantastic. And place the back heel in and down to the earth. Lovely. Let's take the right hand onto the ankle and the left hand onto your hip, partially opening the chest, but possibly not all the way. Keep a bend in the knee. Keep the chin and the face softening down. That's it. So I'm holding onto my ankle, front of my ankle, lower part of my shin. Take an exhale, begin to straighten that leg a little bit. So now we're lengthening and then bending the knee. Don't force it to straighten. As you exhale, feel the inner thigh run forward, the outer thigh come up towards the hip and then bend. One more time. Exhaling. Inhaling. Hold it there. Slip the forearm onto the thigh. That's it. Maybe start to open the chest a little bit more. Reach your left arm back towards the back ankle. So you turn the armpit, inner elbow palm of the hand. Maybe the arms can come over by the cheeks. So you've got one long edge to the top of your body. Lifting out to that bottom shoulder and spinning the little finger edge of your hand towards the space behind you. If that's not comfortable, the arm could be vertical, your choice. Okay, take the fingertips to the floor. We're going to turn the right toes in, turn the left toes out, and walk yourself across into a side lunge. Keep yourself square to the long edge of the mat as much as you can, and keep the heels down. Don't go so low just yet. Just going to do this dynamically. Walk yourself across, forearm onto thigh. Inhale, Pajakonasana. Again, exhale, swivel hips, swivel feet. Keep the hips down, sweep yourself across. Exhale. Inhale, walk yourself back. Pajakonasana. One last time. Exhaling, toes in, toes out. Sweep yourself across. Walking yourself back. Pajakonasana. Fantastic. This time the fingertips are going to come to the floor. Turning both sets of toes forward. Walk your fingers forward so that underneath the shoulders of the spine is extended. Bend your knees, but think of lifting the tailbone and lifting the heart. So it's like a little cow pose. That's the inhale. As you exhale, begin to straighten and walk your hands back. Inhale, move the fingertips forward. Bend the knees, lift the tailbone, lift the heart. Exhale, walking your hands back. Round of the head. One more time. Inhale. Exhaling, letting yourself hang. Palms could be flat if they wanted to. Could you shift the weight slightly towards the balls of the feet? Without them gripping, without the toes gripping, without you feeling that you're going to fall over. Keep the backs of the knees soft, head relaxed. Well done. Let's move ourselves over towards the left foot, back into a lunge. Slide that foot back into a high plank. You can stay with the same vinyasa we've been doing, or you could move to a chaturanga up dog if that's your practice. I'm just going to stay with the demonstration of the one we've been doing. Coming forward with a flat back, hovering the chest, sliding the legs away from you, rolling the shoulders up and back, maybe cobra. Lifting back onto your knees, tuck the toes, downward facing. Fantastic. Couple of breaths. Starting to take the weight out of the shoulders, up into the hips and down into the legs. Step your left foot a little closer to your right foot. It's a little bit more centered on the mat. Stroke the floor with the ball of your right foot. So the foot is pointed again and the leg becomes so long it has to float up behind you. Reach back like an arrow so you're trying to touch the wall behind you there. Extend through the inner seam of your leg. Exhale, come forward, knee to nose. Ground your spine a little bit. Just going to do this once. Inhale, extend the leg up and back. Exhale, step the foot forward in between the hands. Help it through with your right hand if you need to. Soften your back knee and glide the back foot forward to fold. Knees are hip distance apart. You can inhale, turn the palms out, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, thumbs down towards your midline. Drop your mind back down into your body wherever it's wandered. Inhale. As you exhale, start to fold. Support your breastbone with your thumbs. Come forward with a flat back. You'll use the fingertips to the floor. Step back with your right toes. Nice long step back. Find a floor rest. Back heel comes in and down. Left hand comes onto the front of the ankle. Right hand comes onto the hip. Use your other hand, but that's it. And wrap things around the pelvis. So you can feel that the hips are on about a 45-degree angle here. Bend the knee a little bit more, and then open the chest towards me. It's possibly not all of the way. Begin to straighten that leg a little bit or lock as you exhale. Inhale, rebend. Underneath side of the body is long. 2 more times. Exhale. Inhale. One more time. Exhale. Try to keep the outer edge of your foot down there. Inhale. Fantastic. Engage your core so you can bring the forearm onto the thigh. Reach your right arm back so it's hovering over the ankle. Well, that's the feeling. Turn the armpit, inner elbow palm. Arm can come up and over by the cheek. Or if that's too much, you can have the arm rising vertically. That's it. Bend a little bit more into that front knee. Yeah, so that top hip goes down. You can feel the line of force at the top edge of your body. Beautiful. Reach out as you inhale. Exhale, fingertips come to the floor. Turn your left toes in, right toes out. Creep yourself across into a side bend. Inhale, creep your way back and sweep the elbow by the cheeks. So one breath, one movement. Exhale, swivel hips, swivel feet, little side lunge. Moving back, make sure the hips and feet arrive. Last time, exhale. Brilliant. So you might want to go too low. And then coming back. Reaching out. Fingertips to the floor. Turn your toes in, coming back into your prasarita. Lifting and lengthening through the heart, softening in the backs of the knees. Scoop up the belly, and then let yourself hang. Take a moment here to rest the heart and fresh blood to the brain. Feel again into the structure of the foot. So you've got the solidity of the heel and the outer edge of the foot. Weight transfers across the metatarsal wall of the foot, from the little toe into the big toe. Talk ourselves around towards the right foot, back into a lunge. Step back into a high plank. Slide that foot back into a high plank. Your choice of vinyasa. If you're staying with me, lower the knees, flatten the feet. Take the shoulders forward, the wrists, bend the elbows, heart hovers. Slide the legs and belly away from you. Press down through the tops of the feet. Let's take the hands this time onto the floor outside of your mat. And then come up onto the tips of the fingers. Yeah, brilliant. Shrug the right shoulder blade down the back. Shrug the left shoulder blade down the back. And then both, and maybe you might come a little bit higher into your Bhujangasana, with a little bit of space and breath forward. No compression in the lower back, so if it feels too much, just lower yourself down a little bit. And then release, ribcage, heart, forehead. Take the hands underneath the shoulders, push back onto hands and knees. Tuck your toes, downward facing dog as you exhale. Couple of breaths here. Softening the heels. Softening the thigh bones upwards. Stepping the right foot a little closer to your left foot if you like that adjustment. Stroke the floor with the ball of your left foot. Toes pointed. Leg floats up behind you. Inner seam of the leg length. Inhale, exhale, come forward, knee to nose. Inhale, take the leg up and back. Exhale, step the foot forward in between the hands. Come onto the tips of the fingers, soften your back knee, and glide your back foot forward to fold. Lead from your heart, you turn your palms outwards, come slowly all the way up to standing. And as you exhale, draw your thumbs down towards your neck. Take an inhale, exhale, start to come forward, thumbs supporting the heart. Releasing the fingertips to the earth. Step back with your left toes into your lunge. So take a little hamstring stretch. This way, as you pivot onto the heels, so lifting the toes again, belly lengthens over your thighs. Placing the foot back onto the floor, take the right hand to the inside of the foot and walk us up around to a wider fold. Come onto the tips of the fingers and heel toe your feet now, so a little bit wider than a hip distance. And spinning the heels in. You start to bend the knees, toes are pointing out a little bit. Maybe you can slip each hand underneath the arch of the foot, heel of the foot. Your hands like a clock. Palms are down, so the hands are flat there. If you don't like the sensation of standing on your hands, of course, just have your hands in front of you. So we're going to come underneath that way. So if you take your hands forward, literally, but unless you don't want to stand on your hands. That's it. Too hard, yeah. Rotate the hands in front of you. And then lift the chest. Press the upper arms against the inner thighs, lifting the pelvic floor. Well done. And then we're going to release the hands out. Underneath, lift the sit bones, turning the toes forward. Walk yourself around towards the left and step your right toes back a little bit more. Come onto the tips of the fingers. Set the hips up and back. Pivot on the heel, lifting the toes. Lengthen the belly over the thigh. Wonderful. Don't need to straighten that front leg. Soften the back heel. Imagine the tops of your thighs rotating towards the midline. Placing the foot back down onto the floor. Take the left hand to the inside of the foot. Walk yourself around into a wider hip fold. This time we're going to spin the heels in a little bit, bend the knees out to the sides. Imagine you're curling your sit bones underneath you as you come up with the hands to your heart in prayer. Pause starts. Pressing palms together to feel that upward lift of the core of your body. You want to make sure you adjust the angle of your feet so it's authentic to the openness of your hips. So knees and middle two toes here. Beautiful. Maybe you can lift your heels off the floor. Press down to the balls of the feet. It's going to be some wobbling, some shaking. Strengthening the ankles, well done. Place the heels to the floor. Release the fingertips to the floor so you can press your knees away for a moment. Spin your heels out so the toes point forward, and then let the crown of the head release down. Well done. Hold on to the tips of the fingers once again. Heel to the feet so they're a little bit wider than hip distance. Turn the toes out about 10 degrees. Come and sit down into your squat. So you may have the heels down, the heels might be popping up. That's it. Could you this time bring your hands into prayer and take a little balance? Well done. Again, lifting up through your pelvic floor. Try a little twist here. So you lean forward a little bit. Maybe the elbows come inside. Take the right fingertips to the floor, left hand onto the heart, and you're going to lean away, shoulder towards the knees. Start to turn the heart and open up the arm into a twist. Look up towards that arm. Fantastic. Spine wobbling, pushing slightly into the back of the neck stays long, and then come up. Bring the hands back into prayer. Brilliant. Get the left fingertips to the floor. Lean in, hand onto the heart as you turn your heart. Float the arm out and up. Bring the hands back into prayer. Well done. And then however you can, even if you plop down, come to sit down. You may want to turn your mats around lengthways again if you don't want to have your feet on the floor, but it's also fine to stay where you are. So we're just going to do 3 variations of Paschimottanasana here, because we're all different. We're going to feel very different in our bodies. We prefer one than the other, possibly. So first one, we'll just start with this variation. So we're on the heels, knees bent. Walk from sit bone to sit bone, so you can just feel where they are. So you want to be more towards the front of your sit bones and your tailbone if possible. Raise the arms as you inhale. Reaching up, coming forward, so belly comes onto the thighs. And the fingers can keep over the toes, or you can take a hold of the outer feet or onto the shins. And try to lift and lengthen your chest forward, chin slightly down. Beautiful. Breathe in. Pull the heels back towards you, although they're not going to go anywhere. Then again, you're going to feel the hamstrings switching on, and you might feel a little bit more lift out of the lower back. If you know you can go further, I'm just going to go sideways. You can start to slide the legs away. Lengthening, without letting the upper back and the head and neck become involved right now. It's absolutely fine. The knees to bent. Breaths. Hands back on the legs. This time we're going to have the legs straight. We're going to try and bring the big toe joint and inner big toe to touch. But keep the knees pointing up towards the ceiling as best as you can feel that. That's it. Great. Take the fingertips to the floor. Root down to give yourself an uplift. And then maybe start to come forward again. Now you might just be here. You might want to hold the feet, the ankles. You might be coming all the way down here, then the upper back. But it's not a competition. Where you are is where you are. And you be content with where you are. Can you just be curious about this variation, where you might be feeling it slightly differently? Hands back up the legs. And the last one, we're going to bring the legs together and flex the feet. And feel as if you're trying to turn the outer edges of your feet back towards your outer calves. So it's like you're opening your feet this way. Keep the big toe joints round. If you're a bit hyperextended, if that happens when you straighten your legs, keep the heels down, but keep the thigh muscles switched on. Root the fingertips down, lift, and then again start to come forward. And you can have your hands here for balance. You can have hands into shins, you can take a hold of your feet, you can step upright or let your head go. So 3 variations of the same pose. We have unique bodies, we have unique life experiences, different challenges, different strengths. So our yoga practice wants to reflect that. Meet us where we are. And when you're ready, you can walk your hands back up. Brilliant. Okay, let's come down to the back. So you turn to face one shoulder of your mat. Doesn't matter the orientation or you in the room. Take the sit bones towards the heels. And then with the hands behind you, so you might like this little shoulder stretch before you come down. So bend the elbows, and the trapezius muscles come up by my ears. Yeah, just adjust the hands a bit so you might feel that might be nice. And then release yourself down. Palms towards the ceiling. Just rock your knees from side to side in the same direction now, so like windscreen wipers. Have a hip distance or wider with your feet. A little bit wider with your feet here. Great. Out to the center, draw your knees towards the chest, and if you want a happy baby, you take your knees wide, you reach inside your knees, kick up onto the shins on the ankles, or the feet, elbows inside, flex the feet as if they were standing on the ceiling. Keep the toe down, keep the chin down slightly, so you're not compromising the air shape of the spine too much. And you take a rock here. It's a nice way to access the mid-back. Heels to your sit bones, draw your knees towards you. Face the feet to the floor. And unless there's anything else you think you need, we're going to settle into Shavasana. If there's something you feel you need to make yourself more comfortable, go ahead. The knees could stay bent in Shavasana, or you can stretch your legs out. Arms facing the ceiling. Little toe edges of your feet look out. Deep inhale. Maybe sigh out to the mouth. Inhale through the nose.